So many times I told these niggas stop playing with me, go play with your kids. I don't wanna hear no opinions from people who still got dreams of making it big. I don't really care about what you would do if you had this bread or the things you would get. If you was me, you wouldn't work this hard. You don't know how long I've been waiting on this. I'm way too busy to hate on a bitch. You beg a comment unless she begging on tips. I came up from nothing, was laying on bricks and sleeping in bedrooms and paying no rent. Everyone loves you, but fame don't exist. When I made a million and said it, I switched. My watch is too pricey, my chain is on lit, my diamonds are icy. I'm skating on this. Skating like Gretzky back in the 80s and running from 12, but that isn't better. You niggas in jail, but that isn't phase me. I keep to myself, but that's what it takes me. The day that you bastards blame me, it'll be the same day me and Jennifer Lopez announced that we gon' be having a baby. I have some twins, the two in the bag. You want the same, but you wouldn't last. The difference between me and you is you trash. Really, 100, you doing too bad. Look, from at a 10, and you like a 2. If you was a 10, then I'd be 200 divided by 2. I'm too good at math. Look. They got me started, I'm back on my shit again. She got a fatty, I thought about hitting it. Hit it for practice, like I've been auditioning. Cut a bitch off, but she started a figuring. Cut a bitch off with the scissors they use when they open the business. And cut the red ribbon with nigga, I'm ignorant. Too many times I told these niggas stop playing with me, go play with your kids. I don't wanna hear no opinions from people who still got dreams of making it big. I don't really care about what you would do if you had this bread or the things you would get. If you was me, you wouldn't work this hard. You don't know how long I've been waiting on you.
GM. Bitcoin week is here, according to Farmer Joe and Magic Eden and the rest of the Bitcoin ecosystem. What up, Farmer?
Yeah, what up, Budsy? Sorry, there's just some some echo on your end. I can hear myself a little bit, but otherwise, we're smooth sailing. Look, like it's Bitcoin week. Runes activity continues to be bumping. But that being said, prices have certainly been not bumping across the board. Everyone kind of was expecting there to be a bull run by now, but a couple more shakeouts. I'm sure of that. Bitcoin assets, meme coins, ordinals. All things are certainly getting better over time. I think there's a lot of surprise announcements from some of the teams building, in stealth or even, maybe sort of publicly, but have been kind of teasing some future announcements. Yeah, I don't know if I can share just yet, but maybe soon. I'm obviously super excited about what Matt and Arch is building, and yeah, Matt, are we anticipating anything from Arch to join in on this Bitcoin week party here?
Absolutely, yeah. We're just queuing up the tweet thread right now, which we'll pin to the top. But we just put the news out on the Discord first to let all the peeps in the Discord have the first crack at it. But we just pushed the dashboard live, so everything is ready to go with this incentivized campaign. Really excited. Lots of work has gone into this. So this is going to be the first opportunity to connect your wallets. Your ordinals and runes ownership will entitle you to some onboarding points, and then you'll be able to farm and earn points over time as we do our testnet and mainnet over the next few months. So really exciting stuff here. Just finalizing this tweet thread right here. Just give me a second, and you guys can join. By the way, Farmer, we reset the leaderboard, so you're gonna have to reconnect your wallets to see where you fall on the
all good. I know I got a sneak peek of what's to come. I like it a lot.
Yeah, tell them the vibe. Tell them what did you see?
I think at the end of the day, I was massively bullish the Bitcoin ecosystem, and more importantly, I was like yelling and screaming, Bitcoin DeFi is coming. It was going to be Bitcoin DeFi last summer. It was going to be Bitcoin DeFi this summer. But yeah, I think Bitcoin DeFi winter. I know it's not the best thing in the world, but it's going to be a hot winter for Bitcoin DeFi.
Global warming is a thing.
It's a thing. Look, I certainly like the dashboard. I like the gamification. I like that everyone's being rewarded for being a part of this ecosystem, as a collector, as a trader, as a holder of runes. I think everyone certainly can stack their initial claim. I know you can't talk about this, but I certainly can say things because I don't work for Arch. So look, everyone kind of gets this point. Like points turn into something bigger. In the case of Arch, right now the initial claim is called XP. Man, I'm leaking some stuff, aren't I? Um, and that's going to allow you to earn a multiplier, and you want to have a high fat multiplier so that once you have the testnet live in action and you're providing liquidity, doing all the TVL stuff, trading, AMMs, lending, borrowing, well, it's kind of how you earn points. And I think like the best part is, points are great. And when they're passive and they're mercenary, people just come and go and stay. But in Arch's case, like everyone's like in my opinion, everyone's just going to be earning points on Bitcoin for using all of the tools that are in apps that are actually going to come about from Arch as a byproduct as this, smart contract pillar on Bitcoin. So it's almost like every single ordinals enjoyer, runes trader will be naturally just stacking Arch points simply because they're doing something on Bitcoin. And that's not mercenary TVL to me. There is no like funny TVL game here like some L2s try to do. I think the best, campaigns have always been just to provide points to the actual users. And in this case, Arch doesn't necessarily have a lot of competition directly on the L1 or if any at all. And I think that's really the exciting part. So, kudos to you guys for doing something in a bridgeless way. I think a lot of people were believing in the fact that L2s are going to be the way that we scale Bitcoin, and maybe it is, to a degree once we get tired of 10-minute block times, but we haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg as to like what we want to do on the L1, and Arch kind of makes everything possible in a 10-minute block time way. Like you have stacks that works in 10-minute block times. It's time to bring it all on Bitcoin. I mean, we've got way more value in assets than stacks do, for sure. But yeah, Bunzi, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at some of the leaks.
I have not. That is bullish as
That's
fuck.
the alpha.
I have to learn on the shit of the show. Like, what
That's
the fuck,
alpha.
dude?
You
But
need a
no, dude.
3x multiplier on all of your incentivized testnet activities, guys. That's the alpha. I'm leaking way too much, man.
It's actually more
No,
than
this
3,
is.
but we're not going to actually disclose the multipliers for your different ranks and whatnot. We really gamified the hell out of it, but to follow the lore that we've kind of come up with, the general idea is that as you become more experienced through the trials and tribulations of space exploration, you gain the knowledge and the experience to be able to mine your resource that you're gaining throughout the testnet and mainnet a little bit more effectively and efficiently. So the more XP that you get, the better your reward will be at the end of the road. And like you said, Farmer, like I think we did a decent job, like really giving more credence and more value to like these on-chain activities that are going to be in support of the projects you are launching in the testnet and the mainnet. So to start, you obviously have Saturn's DEX, which is hugely anticipated. They put out some docs this week about what to expect and what that's going to look like, and some of the ways that they're fighting MEV on Bitcoin. But yeah, like it's not going to be much of like just throwing this mercenary TVL on the chain. You're able to farm the token or the points or whatever. It's all about how to drive as much activity and volume to the applications, to the miners on Bitcoin, and that's where most of the rewards are going to be. Granted, there's going to be some off-chain missions that you can do, like following some of the projects, social platforms and helping build the community and stuff from the inside. But there's going to be a lot more, geared towards the activity that you're doing on chain, which is certainly exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. I mean, the dog was supposed to take us to the moon, but it sounds like Arch has yet another moon mission here for all Bitcoiners. Um, and maybe this is what brings the ancient Bitcoin wheels in. I don't know. I don't know. Look, in terms of like, I guess market updates too, just quickly, there's quite a lot of like really interesting metas. Gizmo kind of started the meta of animals. We shortly thereafter had like Puka, and then we had Rakutoshi's pet dog called Coda. So now basically every single top, I guess, community really has its own cat, kitten, dog combination to speculate on, and all three have done like exceptionally well. With a shout out to obviously Gizmo being the highest market cap of the three, with Puka kind of being a third of that. Yeah, look, I guess the other part too is like, when should we start to see some of this start to flow into the ecosystem? I know you kind of alluded to the fact that Saturn is uniquely positioned for this, but I think once we have Saturn as an AMM, then we're probably going to see some pump fund type derivative product on the actual L1. I don't necessarily know how you can make the mechanics work because it's still like mintonomics in a way, but very much like interested to see if we can recreate all of that with runes and an AMM and burning like the LP itself. I don't know, Matt, if you can kind of share like if that's even possible, or if some of the builders that you're working with are thinking about having a pump fund type model on Bitcoin in some ways.
Yeah, there's at least two different projects that are working on this exact implementation of what the user experience of Pump Fund looks like. And you have to understand that Pump Fund itself, the way that it works is you have sort of this more centralized trading experience at first, and then once it reaches this minimum escape velocity or market cap of 69,000, that's when they create the liquidity pool on I'm sorry, not Meteor. Where is it? Radium. Sorry. So there is going to be an implementation similar to that, where users who are participating in that first phase is taking total trust assumptions, and it's a much more performant type of ecosystem. So that would be more native to Arch than native to Bitcoin. But what's interesting is how we get back to Bitcoin and how we actually get those fungibles back to the layer one, at the direction of the user, and in some cases the project themselves. And one of the ways that we're able to do that is this natural partnership that's forming between ourselves and the BRC20 and Layer 1 Foundation, where, of course, Best in Slots and the Layer 1 Foundation are creating this programmable module to do more things with the BRC20 standards on the Layer 1. And what ultimately will become possible is we'll be able to store a smart contract on the BRC20 programmable module that will trigger like a mint function of the BRC20 after one of these tokens that existed in a low-fee environment, and an account-based model, which is what you really need to launch a pump fund type of experience. There's a way where you can kind of move back and forth between this low-fee environment and then BRC20 on the layer one without creating a new standard for Bitcoin as well, to like further fragmenting liquidity. So this is just like one way that a team has chosen to go about this implementation, but I think it's incredibly interesting to see some of the novel and unique ideas that some of these teams have come up with.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, all things kind of lead to more users on Bitcoin from other chains. And, last time we had an influx of users from ETH and Sol. I can say maybe like 5% of them actually stayed and believe, versus the others very much just decided to move on to the chains that are actually performant and work in a lot of ways. So, you know, hoping that this time on Bitcoin is very different than the last time or the last, you know, 2 times per se. But yeah.
Dude, this is bullish as fuck. This is like super exciting. You guys have been working on this for a super long time, and I know what this can unlock. So you guys arriving at this point is massive. So this is going to be super exciting to see. You know, I know there's been builders in the ecosystem, but once those kind of that opens up more, um, and more and more and more and more people just start using this, it's going to be really, really cool to see the network effect happen and people start building layer one applications and pushing the barriers again. And who knows, like, what creativity can come from this.
Well, look, man, I'm seeing my runes chats go off right now as to like who's actually claiming the highest amount of XP, and I think there's actually someone that has quite a lot. Can't say it's me, but look, I think everyone should be claiming their like XP, seeing where they stack. You know, you're all kind of just getting rewarded for holding runes and ordinals. I don't think that this is based on like any sort of trading activity, is it? Like that's not how you're considering the 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 weighting. I don't know if you can kind of share how
Yeah,
that's done.
no, it was more of a snapshot that did it based on ownership, not necessarily trading activity. And this is really just if I can expand a little bit more on how this works, is this first onboarding phase is really just kind of to set the table and uh, pay homage to the people who have been very active in the community over the last year. But really, the majority of the XP and the other type of points that you'll earn, which we'll talk about in the next week or two, which is called OR. That is really going to be geared towards supporting the projects. So participating in a swap or being an LP or staking some stable coins. This type of stuff is really what's going to help you really go further and beyond into this points program. This first phase is really just a nice little bonus, really. But the way that the XP work is the more you'll get your own little astronaut. If you haven't logged in yet, you get your own little astronaut image. You start at the cadet level, and the more XP that you get over time, you will see your astronaut change into a different rank. And you can go all the way up to a galactic overlord, which gives you the highest possible multiplier on your points that you'll be farming over the next few months, and then that will hopefully give you some good return on this small amount of grind that will happen like naturally as you explore the ecosystem. What's also interesting is when you get to the level, I think, engineer, that will get you whitelist access for a community auction that we'll be doing after testnet, before mainnet, which we'll share more details about that in the future. But just a little bit of alpha there is, that's the minimum rank that you're going to want to get to if you will want to participate in this community auction, which will be at a pretty steep discount to obviously the expected launch price. So that's something that you guys will want to do.
Interesting. Lots of alpha there behind the scenes. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to re-listen to the spaces.
Yeah.
And
So for someone that's not at their computer, like myself, so from what I'm understanding is right now it's kind of based on assets in wallet. If you go to the site and kind of check in, if you will, and then
well, I think Matt said it's based on a snapshot, right? So,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Do you have to do anything on the site, or I guess for the listeners, like just like a clear walkthrough would be pretty cool. The snapshot's taken. Do you go to the dashboard, or is that needed or not?
Yeah, the dashboard is just what you go to by default when you land on the page, and then it'll ask you to connect to wallet so that you can sign a message. All that's really doing is just attesting to the fact that you own that wallet, and that will allow us to then, of course, look up the contents of that wallet during the snapshot. For the runes, the snapshot was literally today. For ordinals, it was a couple weeks ago. So that will basically look up what you own or what you had owned, and then that will assign a certain amount of XP to your Archtronaut, and then maybe you rank up right then and there. I think for a lot of folks that own blue chip collections, that'll auto rank them up to almost engineer, I believe, is right out of the gate. So I think if you own Node Monks, if you own OMB, if you own a Pizza Ninja, if you own what else? What was it, Farmer? We did Bitcoin Frogs as well as Quantum Cats. You could own like any of that collection. You pretty much are automatically qualified for the engineer rank, which is like I said before, it has implications with this whitelisted auction later in Q4. So that's something to pay attention to. And then, yeah, if you have any like trouble with it or questions about it, you can certainly just jump in the Discord. We have staff in there that can answer your questions, or you can raise your hand in here and we can help you out.
Well, I think this is all unfair, man. Like anybody coming from ETH and Sol is not going to be able to get a multiplier here, and they're going to be falling behind everyone who is here since day one. Oh, no, I love it. Look, everyone who's been here since day one gets a bit of a lift on the multiplier with XP, which I'm sure will allow us to stack our points better than anyone else, which is great.
Bunsy, did you connect your wallet yet?
I did not, dude. I'm excited. I'm gonna connect multiple wallets and see what happens. Speaking of multiple
Bunsy
wallets,
is an ordinals whale. He's got like $200 of dog, I heard.
it's true. No, I have $212 of dog.
I think you need $350 of dog to qualify for the bonus, so you might be out of luck there, pal.
Well, it's okay because I also have a little bit of a cat. So basically, as an adult, I collect animal coins and go to people in public and try to buy things with them, and it doesn't work out that well. But it sounds like with astronauts, I can purchase them quite easily with said animal coins. But no, this is dope, and I think honestly the thought of the rollout is definitely there. I think another rollout that I've seen pretty similar to this that I think is really clever and aligns well with incentivizing early adopters of ordinals was obviously not only Runestone, but what Airheads is doing with the oil wallet. It's like a really cool way to kind of interact, showcase a new technology while at the same time rewarding people that are early believers of an ecosystem, which is inherently how these things grow. Like Bitcoin was the same way. The early adopters, if you were mining before those first halvenings, you were fucking banking, and that's what I think is a tried and true method to make any ecosystem kind of start to flourish. But Amin's here, the man, the technical wizard behind it all, and yeah, how are you feeling about all this? I mean, I know you've been in the trenches working on all of this, and it'd be cool to hear your take on seeing some of this start to come to fruition.
Hey guys, yeah, it's pretty cool to see like everything come together. We've been like working on this
Oh no,
with the product
I'm
team for
I'm
like so
I'm
long
rugging.
now.
I'm gonna drop.
Yeah, it's been great to see like everything come to place, the vision come to place. We've been working with like multiple teams. All I'm gonna say is you guys will see what we've been doing behind the scenes for so long now, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, love to hear that. I mean, I know you guys have been working pretty hard behind the scenes. Yeah, like in terms of like how this all will work, I mean, Well, Matt, maybe you can kind of share, or anyone from Arch can share in like an ELI5 type of way, not to get overly technical. But in terms of like trust assumptions and so forth, you guys released like a document saying that it's really up to the user on the chain to determine what level of, I guess, trust that they're willing to take. And as a taker, as a trader, there is no trust assumption because you're not providing liquidity on some of these things. You're not depositing into a lending pool. And so that keeps things, entirely on the L1, right? Like, is that correct to say?
Sorry, Farmer. Say that last part again.
So in terms of, as a user, if someone is building an application that has a lending pool or an AMM, for example, as a taker of, as a buyer effectively, or even a seller into a liquidity pool, that is still entirely on the L1, right? There is no trust assumption related to that. Similar to we have, I guess I wouldn't say similar, but like in terms of similar trust assumptions that users have using swap as an example right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how the developers choose to build their programs, like that's the TLDR with Arch is that developers have total flexibility on how they want to build it and the user experience that they want to give that end user. And for a lot of these developers, they're choosing to utilize a closeness to Bitcoin, a proximity to Bitcoin, utilizing native Bitcoin things like PSBTs and anchoring Bitcoin, anchoring the state inside of UTXOs that ultimately, as the state change happens during execution, those state changes get posted back to Bitcoin every single time. Now, there are certainly limitations that come with that. Like you still have 10-minute block times. There's still going to be fee UTXOs that you have to pay the Bitcoin network in order to settle that data on Bitcoin, which is by definition more expensive than like a layer two transaction that would be comparable to that. But what you get out of that is just as I said, like you get much less trust assumptions and a much closer feeling in terms of user experience to Bitcoin, which I think is what users want right now. Like you mentioned with DotSwap and their V1 release, they basically have this 2 of 3 multi-sig that has the liquidity to to match trades on the other side, where users who don't trust anybody but Bitcoin using a PSBT saying, I'm willing to trade this much cat for this much dog, um, they have the ability to do that. The limitation there is there's only so many people and so much liquidity that's willing to trust the dot swapped 2 of 3 multi-sig. So the DEX is can only get as big as how much liquidity is willing to technically deposit into that multi-sig. So over time, by using things such as Arch, that will enable DotSwap and other implementations of DEXs like Saturn to get much bigger amounts of liquidity because it's a decentralized threshold signature scheme multisig where essentially it's being utilized in the same type of way that a smart contract controlled wallet or a program derived address operates within smart contract execution on Ethereum and Solana. So there still needs to be
Fat fingered, sorry. Gonna unmute. Yo, Matt. Try to let someone up, but it muted everyone. If you could unmute again.
oh, sorry. Anyways, yeah. So, long story short, Farmer, basically, users will be able to have the same type of user experience that if anyone participated in the V1 of DotSwap and just did these trustless atomic swaps, they will also have that same user experience for applications like Saturn, for example, who are building these liquidity pools on this TSS multisig, which is a much more decentralized and secure way of doing conditional execution, but still the same user experience that we really appreciated with the first implementation of .swap, which allowed for totally trustless atomic swaps without having to leave the base layer. You can self-custody your Bitcoin, and you can actually participate in these swap-like experiences without having to trust anybody. Now, of course, there's other types of applications built on Arch where you do have to take further trust assumptions, like a prediction market, for example. You're trusting that the multi-sig is going to pay your bet out essentially after it gets the egress or data from the oracle. So there's different types of applications where, depending on your role in that transaction, you'll have different trust assumptions.
Yeah, no, I personally like that model. I mean, it's part of the reason why I'm still kind of iffy about using basically everything under the sun that is a custodial multisig. When it comes down to DeFi, you're not just dealing with, 0.2 BTC or whatever. You're really moving, generally higher volumes than that in terms of trading activity, and so I'm always accounting for the fact that money gonna that money gonna be gone. It's also good to know that you guys have like some of the best investors backing you guys. And when it comes down to security, obviously you guys aren't rushing launch and so forth. So I still think there maybe will be some initial skepticism, but once people see this in action on the incentivized testnet. And then it sounds like on Saturn, which may be the first, I guess, product that will be launching with Arch in mind. It could be a very good way to see who and what, as far as tokens go, will amass the highest amount of liquidity in their liquidity pools, and then make trading that much more seamless for swaps on Bitcoin. I know Magic Eden kind of teased some of their swaps, which is using more of a L1 native approach. I think partially, obviously, that's related to the fact that you can't really do swaps on Bitcoin just yet, and Arch doesn't necessarily have a mainnet just yet. So I understand that they're trying to maybe do things in their own way for now, but certainly no doubt in my mind that you guys and Magic Eden are certainly in talks, as I think I heard some of their co-founders actually mention you guys in multiple spaces that they were discussing of like what the future of Bitcoin could look like and what they're really excited about. So yeah, super excited about swaps. I think we should just get other people from the speakers to ask any questions, because seeing the numbers go up on the leaderboard, there's some whales out there, which have over, I guess, 100K of this XP. But yeah, I guess just opening the floor to other people that might have any questions related to the first kind of real points meta on native Bitcoin. I think that's a massive unlock, and it certainly means that we're going to have more fun, and more fun on chain generally means more activity on chain, and more users on chain. I know Woof, I'll let him speak because I think he has a question. Yeah, Woof, did you have anything you wanted to ask, or anybody else?
No, I'm listening. I'll add on if I just kind of hopped in here. Just wanted to say what's up. Fucking hyped on the rune shit pumping. Let's go.
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for like the next vibes and liquidity unlock, and a lot of people still just hate the fact that we have to split our runes, and it's there's just so much friction, and if you want to buy, then you get sniped. If you sweep, you get sniped. So RBF protection coming out first sometime soon, this week or so. Maybe next week in the worst case scenario. I don't know what Magic Eden's timelines look like, but that's going to change the game in terms of actually buying these things. Now, the other part that I'm kind of scared about is like when you have so much network activity, I think there's going to be like you add it to your cart and it doesn't refresh fast enough. And it's just going to be hard to buy these things, but you know, baby steps, I guess, baby steps until we get swaps with a little slider for slippage that we all kind of get wrecked on based on who actually filled their order first. It's gonna be fun. I'm just massively optimistic. Um,
I think it's the
yeah, I think
24th, right? If I remember correctly.
I think that's what Magic Eden has been saying. You know, I think timelines have always moved around. So let's see if they actually deliver on a go live experience, or if it's kind of this beta access, uh, maybe limited to like how many diamonds you have, or some sort of gamification around that. Because I think there's a lot of ways that they can play it to give it kind of permission to access, whether it's just Magic Eden Wallet, whether it's Magic Eden Wallet and diamonds. Yeah, there's just so many ways that they can play it. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
from what I understand or what it looks like, they have a test token coming out at the end of the month. So that'll probably be after the mempool sniping protection comes out. And yeah, I guess it doesn't have to come out the 24th. It could always get delayed, but something tells me whenever that does, like anyone with liquidity that's kind of just been waiting and is tired of getting sniped, they're kind of like, all right, well, once the protection's up, we can start sweeping shit because we know we're gonna have to like force people to buy the next ones on the floor, you know? So I'm fucking hyped for that.
Yeah, I
So is this all around Magic Eden week, or
yeah, I mean,
you said something last?
Bitcoin Week is crowned by Magic Eden,
That's what it is. Bitcoin week.
and Arch and
Wow.
other teams are really joining in on the fun to really to really amplify this. Yeah, but I think the massive unlocks are coming soon. You know, the thing is, you know, when it comes down to like snipe protection, you know, I'd love to see it being open to every single user, every single wallet. Um, you know, if it's just Magic Eden Wallet, then you know, I don't know how bullet. I mean, like obviously still a net positive. They announced their infrastructure from their CEO today, in terms of just releasing it to the public as to like how they're even doing this. But it may be, I haven't really taken a look at it, or asked some devs to take a look at it, but based on the design, it may actually just be able to work with Magic Eden Wallet for now, which I don't know if there's any takes on that, like how people would feel. Like, would everyone gravitate to that direction? I guess if that's what it was offering. Woof, I don't know. You had a pretty
Sorry,
good point
what'd
there.
you say? Sorry, it kind of cut out
So
for me.
for example, like you know, I guess if protected transactions are only going to be possible on Magic Eden Wallet, like do we foresee like people going to that side of things to, or maybe traders moving to that side of things to trade more actively and in a protected way?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think like with the MEV protection, like when the token comes out, it'll probably like be at like easier to make sense. But it seems like they want everything to be swappable. So if that happens and they want to lock in transactions where it's like souls going in for a rune or some NFT things going in for a rune, I don't know exactly, but that's what it seems like it would have to be, and people would have to go to Magic Eden to do it, unless something like whatever the other websites that people use to snipe has something to combat that. But it seems like everything's going to have to go through Magic Eden, and then there's something on the back end happening. I think one of the devs posted like a whole chart on how it works, but I didn't really read into it.
yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at this after the spaces. The other part too is like Arch, when it comes down to like sniping or protected transactions. Is there MEV on Arch in a traditional way? Like is I guess sniping is solved as well if we all just used Arch AMMs and marketplaces and apps, right? Like maybe Amin and maybe
Yeah,
you can answer that.
we've architected the whole design of the system with MEV in mind. So we have like an architecture where the leader can prove like what transactions came before the other. So we don't have to worry about like MEV that much since the leader already proves the order of transactions. So no sniping. Yeah, also like slippage is more handled on the app side. I know Saturn have been working on some pretty cool stuff.
Got it. So I guess on Arch, how would Mev work really? Like it would be in block Mev basically is the only thing that could work.
So like front running and like basically what's happening right now on Bitcoin with like the sniping stuff. It's basically like what you consider bad math or sandwiching attacks. There's also like good math, basically like arbitraging between pools, basically like rebalancing these pools and making the markets more efficient. And that revenue is basically shared with the Arch Verifier nodes and also with the miners to align incentives. Also, Bitcoin like suffers from like this security budget issue where the block rewards are always decreasing. If you don't get some activity on Bitcoin, it's not gonna be secure anymore. So we gotta increase the revenue of the miners if you wanna continue using and trading these ordinals and runs.
Interesting. Okay.
I got a few technical, like, so walk us through like a transaction on Arch. Is it, I remember a few months back, there was some talk, or I may be remembering this completely wrong too, but a UTXO gets kind of flagged as an Arch UTXO. Can you take us through the like life cycle of a UTXO going into the Arch ecosystem, you know, participating in one of these trades and then coming back hypothetically or being treated as an account layer for Bitcoin?
So everything starts with the user. They need to sign an Arch transaction, which we use the same curve as Bitcoin does, SEC 256K1. And you also like sign a PSBT, a Bitcoin PSBT that you want to trade with, like the same way you would do it on Magic Eden. And you would put it inside the Arch transaction that you'd sign in. That transaction is then sent to an Arch node, and all the nodes basically relay that to the leader, which basically like proves the order of the blocks, construct these blocks, and broadcast them to the whole network to start processing. Every node processes the blocks, and if the block is valid, basically like signs the transactions that are resulting from the smart contracts. What the smart contract does is basically take that PSBT that the user signs, and smart contract already has the state of basically the whole pool, so he can pick and choose UTXOs and fulfill the other parts of the transaction. So the user makes no additional trust assumptions. The user that is trading, and the smart contract fills in the other parts of the trade, and that is basically the transaction is basically sent to Bitcoin miners in order to include them in a Bitcoin block.
Dope. So what information is sent in that first signature? So it's like you're passing in the request to the network to verify it. Is it just that one PSBT that gets signed that translates all of that to the network? And then the TSS system effectively signs another, you know, Bitcoin wallet to release that to the, I guess I would assume, signing address?
Yeah, so each smart contract has its own address and it manages its own like funds. For example, like in a DEX, you'd manage the funds in the pool. Basically, like think of the smart contract as this like address that is basically managing the whole funds of the pool.
Yeah.
And it's just like
It's ultimately a Bitcoin wallet though, right? It's like a taproot
yes,
address that,
exactly.
yes, okay. Yeah,
And it's
exactly. So
basically
then the node network signs on behalf of the verification of the request.
yes. So the nodes basically like just do what the smart contracts tell them. and we achieve consensus on the results of the smart contract. So whatever the results of the smart contract, the nodes sign, and that's a complete transaction that you can send to Bitcoin.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah. So like a TSS system, like a threshold signature schema, just like where it's like, hey guys, if this works out, all the nodes will verify it and effectively sign, also making things non-custodial, because that's also an issue that a lot of developers face is effectively one person has the keys to some of these wallets. And if it's not a node system verifying it, this is when legal comes into a huge place, because if you have custody of people's funds, you're now in a very, very, very tight situation with legal entities. But I'm super excited to see this start to surface, and this is really cool stuff. I guess just to sum up kind of like the technical overview is like, so that initial signature is all that's needed. There's no extra steps within that one PSBT. Like the user experience will effectively be the same as interfacing with something like a Magic Eden custodial situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd be trading as if you were trading on like a Uniswap desk. Also, like one thing
Yeah.
that's like quite overlooked, an issue that's quite overlooked that no one is fixing for, it's basically like state concurrency issues. So you know how I'm sure you guys like have experienced this. Like on a token that's hot right now, you go to buy like from Magic Eden from or some other marketplace. You go to buy and it says that like basically like before even you sign the transaction, someone has bought it, and you need to like select other UTXO. So that happens because like the API on the back end, the Magic Eden API, basically sends you the transaction that you need to sign, and someone else sign it. So if like 100 people are wanting to trade the floor, they all get the same transaction and only one signs it, and the other people just like fail their transactions, which is like really horrible user experience. And on Ash, that doesn't exist because we have a unique identifier for smart contracts. And on Bitcoin, basically like everything is in the UTXOs. This is why we picked the accounts model to begin with. So we don't have these state concurrency issues, and all the transactions can go through.
Dude, yeah, no, it's amazing. It's such a well thought out system. And I guess for layman's terms, is like effectively you guys have UTXOs on deck ready to be sent with the amount, and the accounts have the account concurrency, because now you're using a whole nother network that can keep balances and not have to wait for that block to finish and have to do all those things. They can live time keep track of these UTXOs, and those being like the messengers, rather being in the current situation like that. It's like a letter. You have to mail that letter, put a stamp on it, wait for it to get to your house, and then it's done, rather than like email to some degree. If trying to make an analogy for those that could effectively maybe think about the UTXO model, because UTXOs, working with them is a bitch. It's really kind of not the most efficient way to work with things, but in this system, it's pretty cool. Are they queued at all by any chance, or do things just, do you guys build like some type of queue with like trade request, or is it all very dynamic and they're independent of one another?
Well, the order basically who send the request the faster, to the network, and that's what the leader proves. Is basically like he's proven ordering of these transactions. Like this one came first, then the other one came in, and we don't need
So
to like
if
sequence them. We already have the order.
so if I have really fast internet, I could just front run everybody on their orders.
It also like depends on the. It also depends on like the network, like where these validators are. It's a distributed network.
Got it.
This is
So
interesting. This is interesting.
I'm
One
I'm
one last nerdy
I'm
thing. I'll let you go,
moving right
Carmen.
beside a validator or running my own.
Run, yeah. Last, what was it? Damn, I lost my train of thought. But no, this is super cool. This is I'm really excited to see what other apps. We always say DEX and these bigger things that have been proven out on Ethereum, but there's going to be a lot of creativity that comes around these things too. So this is going to be super exciting to see. That's what it was. How does it deal with block times and people paying higher gas on Bitcoin? What does that system look like? So say something's, the mempool is going like retarded and something's like, how do you guys account for that person? Does the PSBT have to finalize in the mempool for your system to execute, or does it execute before?
So we give like complete flexibility for the apps to manage like how much they're gonna set fees for their transactions to be included. We do give like an oracle to like know inside the smart contracts what's the fee rates right now, so they can like basically get some guarantees around like inclusion in the blocks as long as they pay enough fees. There was another part of the question. What was it?
Yeah, because now you're kind of dealing with like two networks with two different fee structures to some degree, because you have to incentivize the nodes to prioritize transactions, and then how do you prioritize people that are paying higher gas fees, and maybe like sometimes people pay low gas fees and like those transactions don't get submitted to the block
So we don't
for quite
so
some
we
time.
don't like Ash doesn't wait for Bitcoin to confirm transaction. We just process it, send it to the mempool, and then and go on onto the next block. We don't wait for confirmation. That's what allows the chain to be fast. But we're always constantly monitoring like which transactions got accepted into the blockchain, into the Bitcoin blockchain, and which one didn't. And since we have like a state that is independent, basically like let's say an app is basically paying very low fees, and there is an app that is paying very high fees, so they can get included. The app that is not getting that's not paying enough fees, it will just like stay on the mempool until the mempool cools down. But the app that is paying high fees will get included right away, and they don't like affect each other.
When you say app, is that like an app or a user decision or both? That
It really depends
do
on
you get my
it really depends on like how the smart contract does implements this. They can also like give that decision to the user.
Cool. All right, that makes sense. Well, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I know this is kind of nuanced, so I'll Farmer, you were gonna say something, but no, I mean, this is dope. I know how long you've been working on the system, and yeah, I actually met another, I forget his name, but another dude that was helping out. Really smart guy. And
Luke.
yeah, really excited to, yeah, dude. Yeah. It's a really, I'm bullish on you guys. You guys have a really smart team, really clever way of thinking about things, and just really catering the whole network to be Bitcoin focused, where, I think that's what separates this concept from other settlement layers, which is it's gonna be cool to see to roll out.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that it's really hard to get some of these things across in just like marketing and websites and docs sometimes. Like, you actually need to experience it to understand for the first time just how like many considerations were given to the fact that this is going to feel as native to Bitcoin as it possibly can, and up until recently, like it's sort of not, that's not been the case, right? Like there's some elements of programmability or pseudo programmability, as we like to call it, with DLCs on the base layer and certain like hash locking scripts that, like Babylon has been able to achieve. But like for the greater majority of the programmable ecosystems that exist for Bitcoin users, it's somewhere else, right? It's on an island somewhere else. So what we've really tried to do is we've tried to make sure that the way that we built the VM and how it communicates with the Bitcoin blockchain itself and confirms all of the off-chain computations that happen in the VM, like it's utilizing core constructs of Bitcoin and its technologies that exist, so that we can sort of weave together this like the puzzle piece that fits perfectly within Bitcoin itself. And that translates to a better, more native user experience, essentially, as well as greater flexibility for the developers.
Yeah, and like what's interesting is like even if I reflect on the questions I'm asking, it's like, and majority of people, like the technical jargon kind of should take a back seat hopefully here soon, because ultimately is like it comes down to user like experience and adoption. And I feel like a lot of people get lost in the sauce where like they, stand on this hill of like decentralization, but use a centralized service like Magic Eden. And it's like, it's this weird, kind of dynamic of like, I want to stand up for decentralization when it favors me and when it doesn't, and all of these things. That's like a whole nother conversation in itself. But I think that your guys' approach, makes a lot of sense. Like serving the Bitcoin ecosystem, trying to make it as secure and as decentralized as possible on the server or the node side, and then just giving the best experience with one signing of a PSPT. As long as that's there, like I think this like works out really well.
Maybe another like good way of explaining it in layman's terms, because that's what I try to do as constantly, is I'm trying to find simpler ways to explain a complicated concept, especially with buzzword marketing, which we still don't even really know what to call ourselves. Execution environment or layer like makes sense. Sidechain, perhaps. Layer 1.5. I don't know, but maybe a good way of explaining this to someone who doesn't quite understand what is unlocked here is, like, we all understand that Bitcoin exists really well to do peer-to-peer things, right? We can sign these PSBTs between users or DLCs between users, and this like contract, it's fully enforceable and exists, and it's pretty solid, right? Like we know that these order books that have been built to trade the fungibles work. It's just they're limiting in the liquidity profile, to the extent of how a Uniswap pool or a Radium pool kind of works. And that doesn't exactly play nicely with Bitcoin, because we cannot do these multi-party contracts. We can only do these peer-to-peer type of things. So the best way to think about, how Arch unlocks something for the other side of that, the user, that the one peer that wants to do something natively and does not want to make any additional trust assumptions, is like the other party that peer is trading with happens to be a bunch of other people, and that other user that they're interacting with in that peer-to-peer transaction, that multi-sig, can only hop into action when the threshold is reached and consensus is finally reached, and that threshold can act as that second party in a peer-to-peer transaction that to one user on Bitcoin is getting what they want. They get a totally trustless experience while they get to self-custody their Bitcoin and don't have to bridge. So like the other side of the network, of course, is going to have to give a little bit when it comes to trust assumptions. But as long as they're willing to do that, it provides an opportunity for the other side, the user, to still have this awesome experience with much, more native Bitcoin features, but it's much less limiting than the traditional peer-to-peer type of transaction.
Preach. No, this is dope. I'm excited for it. Yeah, but Bitcoin week, Farmer, you were hyping us up. It's Tuesday, and my rune bags are not acting like it's Bitcoin week. What's up with that?
Gotta be patient, Bunsy. There's gonna be a lot of people that are here as
I've already panic sold like 3 times this week,
man, there's like 4 more liquidations coming before we hit all-time highs, man. You
dude,
better be ready. There's
the shakeout boogie, dude. Like, this is just another shakeout. There's got to be a nice shake. Is there a shakeout dance on TikTok yet?
I don't know, but if there is one, you better put one together for the Ordinals community. I think Casey has done plenty of shakeout dances.
That is the shakeout boogie, dude. The
I think
rave
his moves
machine.
are most definitely there. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Casey is the shakeout master. Yeah, no, this is awesome, guys. I mean, look, I think we're all just kind of excited to see who brings out some of the best and I guess most intricate dApps. I imagine, Liquidium is very much looking at this as like, pools for fungibles. Magic Eden might be looking at this as like AMMs for runes and other tokens. Saturn's very much like a team that's been building, for the past, I would say like a year and a half or so. And those are smart guys coming from Solana. So, again, I think a lot of your infrastructure as far as like the builder tooling is predicated on Rust smart contracts. So it actually is quite nice in terms of the synergy in this cycle where quite a lot of developers are moving away from Solidity and more excited about Rust smart contracts, Solana smart contracts. And I think that's a massive win on its own. And if we can get some of these, like, I mean, Solana has some exceptional teams, and if we can convince them to build anything on Bitcoin, oh boy, it's going to be great. That's my take.
That's actually a good point. Like maybe Amin, if you're still here, explain why Rust is a superior coding language than Java, Solidity, and some of these other more utilized in previous distributed systems or something.
First of all, like Rust allows you to like delve as low level as you want. You can write inside Rust, which works also inside the VM. You can go to like optimize the minute things, which is like really key on Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin already has this block time, so we want to be as fast as possible to like accommodate for that. And also, the Solana programming module allows you to like have independent states and architecture applications in a way that users don't like if users transactions don't affect each other. You don't like. Let's take for example DEX. I keep going back to it because it really illustrates most of DeFi. Most of DeFi is just like swapping. So DEX is a perfect example. On the EVM, you basically have a global state for the whole app. So basically, other users need to wait until the first user's transactions go through on the DEX, and then they can process their transactions. And on Bitcoin, that takes like 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. That's a lot. But if you have like parallel state, you can basically like submit as many transactions as long as you can fit them inside Bitcoin blocks. So that ability to basically like parallelize the state gives you a big increase in how many transactions an application can process.
Rust go fast.
Yep.
Huh, so that's interesting. So it's kind of counterintuitive because if Bitcoin is inherently slow, you would think that you don't necessarily need to be fast because you can just move along with the slow pace of Bitcoin. But you're saying that because you have the ability to do things faster, what does that allow you to optimize for?
You basically need to overcompensate for Bitcoin slowness, basically. So you need to be really creative when designing these apps, so that the one block is the only downside. If you add like more bad designs to it, it's gonna be like an hour for people to basically get their transactions through. It's like horrible user experience.
I see. So basically, Bitcoin magnifies the inefficiencies in code design, whereas on other faster blocks chains, you're able to kind of hide behind some of these more inefficiencies in the design because the blocks happen faster.
Yeah, one example of this is like there's this library on Solana that's called Anchor. It's basically like makes the user experience a lot better, but it also has like a lot of abstraction layers and it has a lot more bloat. So in order to use that on Bitcoin, it's gonna be like really inefficient unless like you rewrite the library and make it more efficient. And Solana apps can get away with it because the chain is really fast. But like on Bitcoin, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, also like the mempool, like a lot of indexing happens in the mempool, and that's where a lot of this price discovery really comes from, to keep track of. And that's what majority of indexers are written in as well, is Rust to compensate for and like quickly get all this activity that is occurring. Um, Speaking of, yeah, I guess we kind of covered that earlier though, like how you guys account for the mempool. You guys kind of say once it's submitted, it's kind of good to go. It's just up to the app and the developers of those applications to kind of choose whether the block needs to verify or not,
Yeah, exactly.
or it needs to be included in that block. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. I'm just kind of keeping track of like the arch points, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot of people sharing like their XP and what they've been able to get. You know, I think that's going to be quite the cloud booster. So yeah, I think some of the whales, obviously, you know, respectfully, probably don't want to reveal how much XP they have. But I will most definitely be photoshopping random numbers and sharing.
You
Yep,
know,
6.9 XP,
something I
wallet watching
also
SE.
forgot to mention and just recently realized is that if you use your referral link, you get 10% of your referrals XP as well. So like Farmer, I think you had like 500 something thousand or something. So like had I used a referral link to sign you up, I would have gotten 50,000 XP just off of your sign up initially, you know. So that's another way to keep stacking XP is use your referral link.
Yeah, I probably should have thought about this a little bit better and looped my wallets all into one roll up, so to speak.
Caterpillar,
But I,
fucking self-clicking.
yeah,
Lit.
self referral on all my wallets, but I certainly was not. I was just massively clicking. I was just overly excited to see. But yeah, hopefully, my wallets accumulate some referral bonuses along the way to get the maximum amount of multiplier here. Makes sense. Makes sense. For like the last like 10 minutes of the show, I'll just go kind of freestyle and see where it lands and yeah, overall, super excited in you guys. Obviously, I've been following the story very closely as someone who just loves on-chain DeFi and was just waiting for the day to happen. I still am waiting for the day to happen with mainnet, but we're getting closer and closer. I think this is a nice first step of giving the people something that is tangible when it comes down to claiming their points. I think Statflow actually did something similar where they did kind of a private beta type launch where you had 5 referrals that you're able to leverage and yeah, got the people going. But I think when it comes down to fungibles and everything around DeFi, it's still like an underexplored vertical in a lot of ways on Bitcoin because most people are here because of ordinals. And I actually find that most people, because they started with ordinals here and maybe they started with, ordinals and never even had NFTs in the past, they're still kind of learning how fungibles work, how to trade meme coins, how to use general DeFi products, how to use borrow and lending on something like Liquidium right now, how to use bids to trade these things. So it's pretty fun to see people learning from the ground up because it shows me that these are all like net new Web3 users in a lot of ways that came to Bitcoin and they're most excited about Bitcoin. Or a lot of them were just Bitcoin holders that suddenly they have something to be excited about with an on-chain ecosystem that is, not even arguably thriving. It's moving slowly, but it's moving in the right direction, which is up. I'm just gonna throw anybody who wants to speak. Yeah, Moses. I don't know. Anyone else that wants to ask a question or just tune in, jam out. It doesn't have to be arch related at this point. I think we're all kind of excited about Bitcoin Week and everything that's coming out from it very slowly, and just waiting on the day that we have a good user experience that we all kind of accept as usable. Because I think right now it's borderline. It's very much like early adopter stage. I don't know, Bunsy, if you have any other takes on that.
I think this is the end game, dude. Like, ruins are amazing.
This is the top.
Dude. Dude, are you kidding me? We have cats.
Dude,
we brought animals.
I was actually talking to Jan yesterday on the phone, and this guy was just max turbo thudding. He's just like, dude, like, how can you say, like, we're in a pre-bull? Like, we've been in a bull run since 16K for the last 2 years on Bitcoin. Like, ordinals happened, like, nearly 2 years ago. Like, bull runs are usually 2 years, 2 years long. Like, Bitcoin's at all-time high again. Like, I don't know, man. Like, we could be at the top. Like, I'm like, oh my God.
Dude, I can see my house from here, dude. We're at the top of the mountain, folks.
Yeah, dude.
We got the cats. We got gizmos on chain. But we also got Nick. Dude, Nick, you look really smart in that PFP, bro.
Dude, Bunzy, you know what we're missing recently is like I've been following Solana metas a little bit to see what we're probably going to get on Bitcoin, but no one has actually done like an AI coin on Bitcoin just yet, like an AI focused rune, or like an account that is AI. What is it? Truth Terminal? No, it wasn't Truth Terminal. Like Truth Fun.
Yeah, that was the GOAT. Yeah, the GOAT token.
No, there's another meta. So there's this account that was formed that basically buys, sells, promotes meme coins as like a KOL. And on the Solana side, they ended up turning one SOL into, I think, 750 SOL. And the meta became buy when the AI buys, and then it usually has sold within 6 minutes. So if you held it for 3 to 4 or 5 minutes, you're able to exit before the AI jeets the bag and it rotates into something else. But then the AI posted, it's just like, okay, looks like I shouldn't be holding for 5 minutes. We'll change algorithm to something else to randomize. It's so freaking crazy.
Yeah, dude. It kind of, the other day I forget who I was talking to, but like motherfuckers that go to sleep with some of these soul bags that they have are fucking crazy. They're psychos. Like some of this stuff, it just goes so fast, and like a few exceptions like end up going turbo, but oh my God, the pump fun tokens, like if you hold those more than 24 hours and you go to sleep, oof, that is a interesting place to be, my friend. But if you do make it, you make it big. So I guess that's why we see a lot of people losing a bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, most of this stuff isn't realizable, right? Like it's it's got what, 1 or 2% of liquidity, whereas like the whales tend to hold like 30 or 40% of the supply. So it's
let us dream. Let us dream. Let us get that screenshot. I just need the screenshot. I don't need to sell it. I just need the screenshot.
It's definitely not like, I mean, it's not dissimilar to like financial markets, for example, right? Like if 10% of all holders ended up selling Apple stock, Apple would certainly, be down drastically, right? Like, so I don't particularly like that argument of like, oh, it only has like 2% liquidity and then another like 3 or 4% liquidity on centralized exchanges to support, I guess the price with market makers, with buyers, and with algorithms and everything else to keep it stable, of course. But yeah, like I don't really buy that argument. But that being said, WAGMI is not real, sadly.
What do you mean?
We've been it was all a psyops, man. Like We can all wag me with numbers on our wallets though. Like is that good enough for you, Bonzi? Like,
Well, as long as we can wag me,
I
yeah.
mean
I don't care how we do it.
that's pretty much how the whole Luna thing works. Like we were all wagming our Luna balances.
Dude,
And
that is the AI. Dude, the AI balanced stable coin. Oh my God. It's gonna be the way. It's gonna be a token called Occupy Uranus. And we're gonna compete with Elon Musk and get to Uranus before he colonizes Mars. We're gonna make the token, we're gonna pre-sell it, and then pretty sure after that we can just forget about the project.
I think if I'm going to space, I'm certainly not going to Uranus, and I'd much rather be on a moon mission with Arch and my dog go to the moon than go to Uranus with some algo stablecoin that you just
Well,
decided to make.
dude, well, I'm definitely traveling to Uranus with fucking haste, bro. And Occupy Uranus is wow. Hold on, I gotta go and scrap something.
All good. Yeah, let's wrap it up here. You know, I think we had a good space. Kind of an informal, formal / Q&A session with all things Arch, and hopefully anyone listening with any sort of ordinals and runes bags, certainly go in and claim your XP. Matt, I don't know if that's limited time. Is it like is the claim kind of open for like 1 or 2 weeks before people are kind of stuck in ground zero and can't get this XP, or what should we be expecting there?
No, they will be able to get the XP as an onboarding bonus no matter what. But what is interesting is at a later date, when we calculate all the points on a retroactive basis, there will be some percentage applied to the points total as an early adopter bonus, and that is going to be a time consideration. So I would not delay or procrastinate just to go and connect your wallet and join the test net. It literally takes, like, I don't know, like, Farmer, what would you say, 10 seconds? You just go to the website, 2 clicks, and you get your Arch or not. After that, it's up to you. But, to get that early adopter kind of bonus, I think that's something that you're going to want to do more sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Yeah, no, appreciate the alpha there, Matt, to end off the show. Nick, I know you had your hand up if you wanted to just add any other pieces.
Yeah. By the way, I'm our CMO, and just wanted to update you guys that there were a lot of questions we couldn't get to in here that were more about the points program in terms of actually interacting with the dashboard, things like that. We're actually going to be doing a live session. I believe it's in our Discord with maybe some Twitter Spaces, but I think it's in our Discord, so you definitely want to join our Discord. But we're going to do a chat at 3 Eastern, which is about 35 minutes from now. So if anyone has any questions about how to use the dashboard, if you're facing any issues, we're definitely, we just launched this thing, and you always work through a few bugs. So we're definitely happy to answer those questions, and we'll kind of do like a live tutorial setting so people can kind of see how to use the dashboard, things like that.
Love it. All right, Bunzi, if you're available to do an outro, let me know. Otherwise,
No music today.
No music. Just humming.
But I can sing a song.
No,
I actually wrote a song about Uranus.
Bonzi, we
It's huge.
Is it an AI track?
Dude, oh my God, is it an AI track? No, I wrote this with fucking rocks and chisels. No, I don't have a song, but this has been a great show. Arch, congratulations. The space mission has begun. They're going to the moon. Elon's going to Mars. I'm going to Uranus. And I think that's basically the TLDR. And catch us on Thursday, and I'll let you know how Farmer's anus is. And it'll be pretty cool.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining. See you guys on Thursday.